This is the tutorial for Chapter 8, Section 1, Day number 1. And so let's take a look at our first problem here. And so what we're trying to do is find the volume of cylinders. And so when we're trying to find a volume, well, how would you do that? Well, first of all, let's talk about what volume is. Volume is what we can contain inside of a cylinder in this case. And so it's the capacity. So here's our cylinder. We want to find out how many of these dimes we can fit into the cylinder, and that would give us the volume of this cylinder if we could find out how many dimes fit in there. So let's take a look at what we've got. First of all, a cylinder has a circle as a base, and so you can see the dime here on end here, kind of a top view of it. And if I could find the area of that base and then multiply by how many of these dimes we have, the height of these dimes, that would give us how many would end up fitting inside here. So let's take a look at our formula. So again, if we wanted to find the volume, we can find the area of the base, and if we could multiply that by the height, that would give us this volume, what we could end up holding inside there. So here is our key idea, or volume of the cylinder in words is the volume of the cylinder is the product of the area and the base. The area of the base and the height of the cylinder. And so our formula would be this: area of base, B times H. Well, we've got a formula for the area of a circle, and that would be pi r squared times height. And that will end up giving us our area, our volume. And so the area of that circle is going to end up being pi r squared. So let's go ahead and use that. So here it says to find the volume of the volume or height of the cylinder round to the nearest tenth. And so we're going to go ahead and write down our formula to start with, pi r squared times by height, and we're given the height is the distance between the two bases here. So we've got this from this circle here to this circle here, that's going to end up being our height. And then our radius is just the distance from the center of the circle to the curve of the circle. And so we're going to go ahead and substitute our numbers in there. So we've got 4 squared times by 15. So we have to square 4 first, and then multiply by 15, and then by pi. And so we'll go ahead and use this calculator to multiply 15 times by 16. And what we have is 240 pi. And so what this is an exact answer. These are in cubic feet. And so this is an exact answer because we have not approximated what pi is. And so as soon as we approximate pi as 3.14 or even further decimals than that, then we are approximating this volume. So sometimes we want to leave it in the exact form, and that would be it. Now, why is it cubic feet? Well, because when we're looking at the area of the base is feet squared times pi, and so that's going to be square feet, and then we have the units of the height is feet, so square feet times feet give us cubic feet. And so whenever we're dealing with volume, we're going to end up having that cubic unit. And so that's the exact answer. Let's take a look at an approximate answer. So there's two ways to do this. We could either use the general form of pi. A good approximation is 3.14. And so let's see what happens when we do that. So we get 753.6. So 240 times by 3.14 gave us 753 and 6/10 feet cubed. That's a good approximation. That's really good for any type of work that you're trying to do. However, there is another way, so let's take a look at that. And so we can take 240 times by, and then oftentimes calculators will have a pi button, and you can see how many more digits it gives us. And so because it gives us more digits, the answer is going to be a little bit different. And so if we press equals there, you see how it's 753, same number, but now 0.9. And so that's going to be using the pi button. So we'll say 240 times by pi is going to be about 753 point, and then let's see what those decimal points were. They're 9/8, and so 9/8. And so if I was to round to the nearest tenth, which is what it says to do, I would be looking at the 8, and that would round this up, so it would be 754. So you can see how you get a little different answer if you use the pi button compared to just the 3 and 14 hundredths. And so I'll leave them both up there. So if they don't specify what to use pi with, since we have the calculator that can come up with so many decimal points, I would use this pi value, unless they told us what to use pi as. And so this one's a little different. What's different is here we have the diameter. And so whenever I have the diameter, I still need to find the radius. And so the radius here is going to end up being 2 times, well, the diameter is 2 times the radius. So if I wanted to find out what the radius is, I'm going to take half of the diameter. I have to take the diameter and divide it by 2 to find out what that radius is. So let's go ahead and set up our formula. Volume equals pi r squared times by height. So I substitute my numbers in there. Now I'm taking the diameter, 3, dividing it by 2, and then squaring that answer, and then times by the height, which is 3. So this was my height, and this was the diameter in this case. And so I had to take half of that. Now if I was to multiply this out, it would be pi times by 9/4 times 3. So that would be 27/4. See, if I multiply straight across, that's what I get. It's 27/4 pi. This is the exact answer. The units are meters cubed. The exact answer. And so again, I'll go ahead and show you what the approximate answer would be. So if we went ahead and used this value of pi, the pi button we'll start off with here. So I'll clear this one and do 27 divided by 4. That gives me my 6.75 times by pi, and that gives me 21, and that number was 0.20, 21 and 20 hundredths. So that rounds to 21.2 meters cubed. So that's an approximate value. Now just using the 3.14 just to see what the difference is here. If I did 3.14 times by, and then I'll put in some parentheses here, do 27 divided by 4, and that gives me 21. So if I do using 3.14 for pi, it gave me 21 and 195 thousandths, 21.195. So rounding to the nearest tenth, I would round that up, so 21.2. So I get the same exact answer I did using all those values of pi. So you can see how sometimes you're going to get a little bit different answers, sometimes you won't. So those are the types of problems you're going to see on tonight's assignment. Good luck.